Who Watches the Rewatchers, a Buffy rewatch podcast.
You know, Alan, in the scriptures, they say faith, hope, and love, and the thing that lasts and the best of all is love, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if it's faith, hope, and trick, does that mean that trick will outlast faith and hope?
I think that actually is the gag here. I think that's good. And actually, I have a thing I want to say about that when we get closer to the end of the episode. So that was an
Okay.
interesting observation.
Well, all right. If you hear us talking, friends, then you know that you're listening to Who Watches the Rewatchers, a Buffy rewatch podcast. I'm Jarrod, that's Alan, and we are in episode 3 of season 3, Faith, Hope, and Trick. I actually always get excited when this episode comes in the queue because I think Trick is super fun. I get more excited about Trick than I do about Hope in these episodes. I just think that they could have done more with that character.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll say more all about that later. But I just think it's a cool change. It's a complete different change than the tone of the big bads and villains. Anyway, right here we are. I think we've gotten. Let me just kind of say, you know, episode 1 of the season, Buffy's trying to figure out her life, and she's gone, and she comes home. Last episode, they try to figure out what that means. Okay, we're back now, and now it's back to like the normal. And the opening scene of this episode, I figured you would really love the opening.
Oh yeah, I love this opening,
Why don't you talk about it?
which is all about it's all about freedom and being scared of freedom and being scared of the pressures and the responsibility that comes to freedom. And the way that they do it is with this very, very sweet scene with Willow where she's such a rule follower. She doesn't want to leave campus, and she's allowed to leave campus for lunch because she's a senior.
As
And
seniors, they get to go off campus lunch. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And anyway, so the rest of the Scoobies take her off campus, like force her to go off campus. So it's Oz and Xander and Cordelia basically carrying Willow off campus to go meet Buffy for lunch because Buffy's been expelled from school. And then they
Yes.
have a very they have a really, really fun conversation as they're sitting down to have this picnic lunch with Buffy. And Buffy has one of my favorite lines of all time from the show. She says they talk about her trying to get back into the game and trying to start dating again and maybe you know, start having a social life, and surely Principal Snyder's going to let her back into school. And she concludes this whole thing by saying something like, yeah, I just want to date and shop and slay unspeakable demons. You know, girly stuff.
Girly stuff.
Girly stuff. Yeah.
There's a reference to Martha Stewart because they're like, look, how'd you get on Martha Stewart? And she goes, Martha Stewart doesn't know anything about prosciutto. She's got nothing on me. There's all these references that you know, they were trying to be really in the moment, but somehow still kind of play all these years later. That speaks to the enduring legacy of Martha Stewart.
Yes.
I love it when Willow starts to dig herself into a hole about boys and dating.
Yes.
And she gets kerfuffled, and she says, "Oh, I'm whatever. I'm I can't remember the word." And she looks over at Oz, and she says, "Save me." He goes, "No, I like it when you're like this," and it's very cute.
She had made a reference to that thing Buffy does with her mouth. Oh, not that bad thing you do with your mouth. That was the gag. Yeah.
It was. Well, and this is all set up to try to get Willow, trying to get her interested in this boy who likes her, and this boy walks by. His name is literally Scott Hope, which is sort of the on the nose sort of thing about the character. And I have to say, I don't have to say, I'm going to say, this actor and character combo thing annoys me in the narrative. When he's
Oh,
in the show.
really? Tell me why.
I don't know.
Or can you articulate it?
Well, his tone of voice, his like "I'm sorry for existence" attitude, is also blended with an impatience, that he has with Buffy throughout, right? He gets
Mhm.
impatient and he wants to assert himself. So that combination smashes in an awkward way to me throughout his small tenure on the show.
Sure.
Um, yeah, and then later he invites her to go see a Buster Keaton. I mean, I guess this is Joss Whedon and it's not these kids, right? But it's just
Sure.
it gave me the same feeling that when I was watching Dawson's Creek at the same time
Ah.
in high school, and they're making these references. I'm like, these kids don't know what these things are talking. This is not identifiable. No, I I learned who Buster Keaton was at some point. It wasn't when I was a senior in high school, probably, or I wasn't like asking girls to go to the screenings of Buster Keaton films. Anyway,
So I will say a couple things about that real quick. Not pushing back on you, but I do want to mention one thing. So just a few years previous to this, and this may be where some of this is coming from. Um, okay, a few years previous to this, there was a very, very popular show on television called 21 Jump Street.
hmm
And it may have even been the same network. I can't remember. Um, but regardless, um, one of the main actors from 21 Jump Street was Johnny Depp. And
right.
right after he left 21 Jump Street, he did, I don't remember what the movie was called, but he did some like little comedy flick where he played a character who was obsessed with Buster Keaton.
hmm
And I wonder if the young writers on the show were of a target age to be interested in that enough to where they thought that that would be a good hook, because that
That's
would
a
be
deep.
that would be the closest like cultural reference that's right there in the
That's a
milieu that I
deep
can think
cut,
of.
man. Is that Benny and June?
Benny and Joon.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. Okay, all right. Let's climb out of this cut. This is deep.
All right, so we cut from this in Buffy to a scene of what the villain's going to be for the episode.
Yeah, I love it too. It's a limousine pulls up to like a hamburger joint, fast food, and the window rolls down and Trick's an African American
Mhm.
man in a slick suit talking, and he's talking in a very sort of, I don't know what's the performative style he's talking in about being in Sunnydale,
Mhm.
and and he's referencing race, which is interesting. Uh,
Yes.
and the big bad is sitting next to him in shadow.
Yeah, we
And
can't see him yet. That's right.
yeah, and this African American vampire who we know is Trick, he says Sunnydale makes DC look like Mayberry. Because he said it's like the crime rate, but no one knows about it. No one talks about it. But he is the guy running the stats. He's the guy. It almost looks like he's the political aide to some sort of like
Right.
high level senator, congressman, or something.
Yes. Yes, it's
You
definitely the way that they're
do
playing it.
you do see
Mm,
the big bad's hand, which is a cloven hoof.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, and by the way, have we already in Buffy lore had the conversation where they suggest that some vampires are so old they predate, modern evolution?
well, I don't know that we've discussed that. I know in this episode, Giles says he's so ancient his hands are still cloven hoof.
Right.
But there's more to it than that.
I just maybe this is the episode where I learned that. I can't remember. That's why
Okay.
I'm asking. I'm not sure if there's like if there are previous references to it. Like I always thought that the reason the master looked so funky was because he was so old that he predated stuff.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how if and when they ever started thinking about the origins that deeply. Well, Trick is asking, talking about basically the benefits of living in Sunnydale. Is you have all this like cattle walking around to feed on, and no one cares. No
Right.
one's saying
Right.
boo about it. And his overlord is saying, "Hey, look, man, all I want's a Slayer." And and he talks about how he wants to rip out her spine and eat her and all this. And then Trick goes, "Now you made me hungry." And he reaches in and grabs the
Yes.
part-time high school employee and pulls him out the window, which was
Yeah.
a pretty cool. I mean, that's a pretty cool shot. And the way
It
Trick was
is.
pretty effectively, I thought it was one of the slickest vampire presentations to date. To be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Okay.
We go to
So from
we go to
there,
the
we
credit we go to the credits though, and we wake
yeah.
up and I think your favorite world, which is the dreams of Buffy with
Yes.
Angel. I think your favorite.
I I'm always interested in Buffy's prophetic dreams. Like I think that they do it's one of her very few non-physical superpowers. So I'm always interested. But yeah, she's dreaming about Angel though, and I'm not sure I like it when she's dreaming about Angel. Um so at some point in this dream about Angel, we realize that he is they do some very creepy stuff where like he's bleeding and they're reminding Buffy that she killed this guy. They're reminding the audience that she killed Buffy. Probably Buffy killed Angel. And and then there's this line from Angel where he says, "Go to hell. I did." But he doesn't deliver the part "I did" in a way that makes it convincing to me that like there was continuity between the two lines. Do you know what I'm talking
Mm,
about? Did you catch this?
right. Yeah. Well, it's go to hell, and then you see blood going in his like heart area, and then the camera comes up to his face, and then he looks like a rotting corpse. The
Yeah,
makeup that like a film, like a VHS film I remember seeing on the shelf at the video store. It really looks like the
sure.
same image of this one particular film I can't recall. And he's like, ha 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 ha, I did. And it's sort of it cuts tone from being angry and emotional about lovers, and then like almost vindictive
Yes.
slasher Freddy. I think the thing that you miss in your brief description that I think I want to highlight is just
Oh,
that
please.
she's doing this dance with him, and it's he's wearing the white again.
Yes.
The Plata ring falls, the ring he gave her, all that is there, but she's doing this in front of her friends, and they're all very passively sitting there watching her. That's all they're doing. They're
Yes.
not engaged in
Yes.
anything else, which I think really heightens the sense that she lives a sort of existence that seems performative, or at least everything she's doing,
Mm,
her most intimate stuff has happened publicly
right.
and in front of people. And even the killing of Angel was done for the good of all. So it's nothing is
Mm,
private. And I think that's a painful feeling for her.
yes. Yes. And that's a fantastic observation.
She had to kill him again in the dream, if you will, and then
Yeah.
she wakes up to her very sunny bedroom. I always point out how TV likes us to think that we actually wake up and the sun's already shining. Uh, but then she retrieves the Claddagh ring, this old Irish, ring of the
Mm,
promise ring, if you will.
yeah.
And then she's interrupted by Joyce taking her to go see our favorite Principal Snyder, Snide Man, as she calls him at one point.
Yes.
And here, I'm looking again at this office and thinking about your last observation about the way the blinds read on their faces.
Yes.
It's less pronounced than last time, but
Yes.
it's still got that menacing backlight, right?
Yes.
They definitely do a good job of making you feel like you got called to the principal's office.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
yeah.
And and even though they've got some of those shadows across, they don't have as nearly I don't think they have any across the face, but they have some across the body, you
Right.
know.
That's what I'm saying. It's not as pronounced. I wonder if that was intentional last time to make it such.
I think
But
so. I think so. But then Snyder, every time we see him, he actually gets up and stands in front of the blind. So there's this like bar thing behind him or whatever because he's been trapped by the school board. He's forced to let Buffy back into school, and he tries to make it sound like he has all these conditions for allowing Buffy back in. But the fact of the matter is that he doesn't have any control over it. And this is highlit by Joyce in a really sort of tough mom moment. I don't think I've seen her act this way very often.
right. I think what the season is doing is, we're solidifying Joyce as a character. She obviously knows now, and so now they're
Yeah.
able to give her a little bit better parenting chops in the writing. I think it permits that for her, and you're glad to see it. You're glad to see it because all too often she's a foil for Buffy
Yes.
to, get around, the authorities.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes. And of
Cut
course,
from there. Now,
the
yeah,
scene
go ahead.
ends with Joyce saying, I think what my daughter's trying to say is, na 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 na.
Right.
Yeah, which is a very very fun moment for her, I'm sure.
Indeed. And then they cut to the library. She's back. I find it fascinating. Giles is amongst many things that he's looking through. There is like a mortar and pestle, so like spell type stuff, right?
Yeah.
Either that or he's preparing for dinner, like an adobe or something,
Yeah. 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 Right.
Uh, so he's there, and he is working on this. It's a binding spell for a Catholic, this demon that they've slayed in the last season, right? That
Yes.
they she had to kill Angel
In
to
order
slay.
to.
And
That's
she's
right.
like, hey, he's like, I need to know the exact, like, where were you in the moment? And he's trying to piece together. Right now, it seems like he's just trying to piece together geography,
Okay.
person placement, so he can redo something. And he's going to take care of it for her, but he just needs to know information. And
Right.
Buffy clearly doesn't want to keep revisiting it, but she's, I'm here to help, and so anyway, that's what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so it is, you can see that she's trying to be a good sport, but she's in pain over it. Yeah.
So,
Where was Angel? He was at the end of the pointy end of the sword, she says. Mm.
and there's a really fun bit about uh Giles overhearing Willow say that he makes a clicking sound with his tongue.
Right. Yeah, and
And he acts as though he doesn't hear it until the very end of the conversation when he brings it back up.
right, yeah. Sage, I love that smell. And yeah, she's starting to show also some of her proclivity or interest in magic, more and more. Actually, now that on this side of watching the shows, you know where it's all gonna go. It is fascinating. They'd actually do that story arc uh, in a lot bigger way than I used to think. It starts pretty early, right? That she's going,
Sure.
you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty well done.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now we cut to your favorite, the bronze.
Oh yes, back at the bronze. Every teenager's dream. But I mean, I do remember being in high school and like wanting a place to hang, just wanting a place to
Sure,
hang,
sure.
and it's like there's never anywhere like this for sure. And I like how right away the camera shows us Faith dancing with a guy who does, when you look at him, he's dressed from the 70s, and
Yes.
he's dancing very goofy. And then it cuts over to Willow and Oz macking on each other there on the sofa, and Buffy says, "Don't interrupt me," which by that she means, "Let me interrupt," or don't don't let me interrupt. And
Mhm.
but anyway, so here we are, and she's being social again. She's happy. She's back at school. Things are falling back into place,
Right.
only to be interrupted by the greatest of all characters, Scott Hope. He
Who
does play
is
pretty cool, though. He does
yeah,
play it
yeah,
pretty.
yeah. He
Uh,
did a good job with the whole trying to ask her out and be reasonably subtle. And when she turns him down, he seems like he takes it in as well as anyone can.
yeah, and it also, you realize that the Willow's trying to orchestrate this. She's like,
Sure.
"Yeah, Willow told me you'd be here," and said Willow's really wanting her to get back up on the horse, and he says, "Hey, look, I'm gonna ask you if you to dance," and she's like, he goes, "I'm gonna go stand by the dance floor. If you're interested, come on over," and he puts the ball in her court.
Yeah.
And this is where through just the normal banter, she actually notices that this girl is dancing with a guy who looks like he's dressed from the 70s, and he's like, "Hey, that's got vamp all over him," which then that's the reason she walks towards the dance floor, leading
Yep.
poor Scott to think, "Oh, she's gonna dance with me," but meanwhile, she is going to go slay this vampire, uh,
Hmm.
not knowing yet that Faith is who she is.
Yep.
But I'm watching the
So
scene right now of the dancing, and they're really going at it, man. They're really into it. I love it when people commit. They have committed.
yeah, they've definitely got a 70s Saturday Night Fever kind of dance thing going on through this, and it's very fun. And you know, Faith is wearing a very unusual outfit.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what to call it. I don't remember seeing people in my era wearing that kind of outfit. It was definitely very Hollywood, um, mix of seductive sexual and bad
Right.
girl, but not too terribly bad.
Hmm.
I guess. Um,
Yeah, I'm uncertain what to call it either. I don't know enough about fashion to have anything meaningful to say. But we get outside and and basically Buffy is going to try to save who we later find out is Faith, and Faith just like takes out this vampire, and it's
well,
a
yeah,
really
and you like it
interesting
because
scene.
she's up against the fence. The vampire is acting like he's gonna kiss her, and she's acting weak, but she's enjoying it. And then she doesn't have a weapon on her. She just starts wailing on the guy and talking to Buffy in the process.
Yes,
And then she's like, "Hey, can I borrow this?" Buffy has a stake pulled out already.
right,
And, immediately, this is not how Buffy would do things. Buffy's like,
right.
"It took a little long." Um, but, what an introduction. This girl
Yes,
knew who Buffy was and knew she was sort of performing for her.
yes.
Um, and now
Getting
we go
back into your thing about the performance issues,
yeah,
right? You
yeah.
know what? One of the things that I find most interesting about Faith, I'll say this just right off the bat, is she's functioning the same way that Kendra functioned, but the opposite. So when Buffy meets another Slayer, the other Slayer is always someone who is like a reflection of herself. So in the case of Kendra, it's why isn't Buffy as disciplined as,
Yeah,
and this time when Buffy meets her mirror in Faith, it's Faith is the like the shadow self, the
the
bad
id.
girl Buffy
Yeah.
could be. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and immediately we cut to conversations in the bronze. Everyone's sort of curious at this new creature called Faith.
Hmm.
Faith is talking about, naked alligator wrestling and all kinds
All
of
right.
stuff. Good. And Xander is like sitting next to the beautiful Cordelia, looking at the beautiful Faith, and he is getting too interested. He's like, Tell the story again," and it's all
Yeah,
fairyland.
yeah,
Angie.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Cordelia says, "Find a new topic."
right, that's right. That is good. Meanwhile, Buffy's sort of like a little, I think, unnerved by her almost voyeurism or almost just the boundaries that there's a
Man.
clear lack of that almost unnerves her from the start. Like
Mm.
there's something that gets under her skin immediately. I don't know if Kendra got under her skin in the same way. I think Kendra got under her skin because it created some sense of shame in her or like,
Sure.
self-doubt. I think Faith creates shame because or gets under her skin because she's disapproving.
Right. Right.
Buffy's in the middle between those two. And I think that the way you say that they reflect, I think it's good, but she is in the middle of those two.
She is. She
Uh,
is. That's right.
Middle of extremes. Um, Oz goes, "Hey, now that you're here, I'm wondering what is your position on werewolves to Faith?"
Yeah, yeah, right.
It's funny.
That's
Um,
awesome. It's a long story. I got
she
there.
goes, "As long as you don't go scratching and humping my leg, we're 5 by 5," which I think is the first time we hear that phrase 5 by 5.
Right, but we hear it a
It's
lot coming up.
something we hear a lot from Faith, and I just take that means we're cool. I've
Hmm.
never heard it before the show. I don't think I've ever heard it since. Uh,
Mm.
5 by 5.
No, yeah, yeah. I have a vague memory of looking it up at some point years ago because I was trying to determine if it was a more common saying. And I think I read that it was a more common saying than I understood, but I had never
Okay.
heard it.
Well, we cut to the library with Giles, and Giles is telling us the most unbelievable aspect to me of this whole universe, which is that the Watchers are all together on some retreat in the Cotswolds, which is really quite lovely, and there's horseback riding, but he's not invited.
Right.
So all of it serves to let us know that he's somehow not in the cool kids club, which I don't know why. He is literally before Kendra and then before Faith, the only Watcher working with a Slayer, right?
It's funny that you bring this up because I had a real problem with this too. Um, from when I saw this scene originally, and again when I rewatched it here the other day, my thought was, if you've only got one active Slayer at any given time, I mean, we have two because of the weird circumstance of Buffy coming back to life in the first season.
Right.
But if you've only got one active Slayer, wouldn't you like, even if there was a Watcher there to like observe the potential Slayer, um, once they became the actual Slayer, wouldn't you send like the best and the brightest to support?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think so. I the whole Watchers Council appears through the entirety of the show to be sort of inept and a parallel to how people critique the government, right?
Oh, yeah,
Almost like
yeah, sure.
overly bloated,
That is a good
unnecessary.
observation. Yeah, yeah.
Um, Faith, let's talk about her tattoo quickly because yeah, she's got all the markings of a bad girl, leatherish pants, the dark, the dark makeup, and this tattoo, which was very 1990s. The barbed wire. It wasn't barbed wire,
Yeah,
but it had that weird kind of angular, whimsical.
sure.
I don't know what you'd call that, but it was a vibe in the late 90s,
Yeah,
early
yeah,
on,
yeah.
to have those kinds of images in tattoos, and that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Um, well, anyway, just pointing out the timestamp. Buffy invites her to dinner, and it is interesting. I think that there's this seed that starts to be thrown out and scattered in this episode, and that seed is picked up on by Giles. It's definitely picked up by Joyce, and that is, hey, maybe there's another Slayer who can kind of take over more Slayer
Sure.
responsibility. They seem to really love it. You seem to be really burdened by it. You get to,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
possibilities, which are both appealing to Buffy, but threatening, which I totally get.
Okay, I want to back up for just a second because where I
Okay.
thought you were going to go with the tattoo thing is,
Oh,
um, it. Yes, you're right about everything you said about it, but I don't think this is a real tattoo. I think it's some sort of fake tattoo they put on her.
sure.
Have you ever seen the cheerleader movie she did just after this?
I think, yeah, probably way back then. Yeah.
So she's wearing the tattoo in the cheerleader movie.
Yeah.
And after she goes and auditions, the actress, she goes and auditions for the cheerleading squad, and the cool kids that don't want her because they see that she's really good at gymnastics or whatever, they basically say, "Oh, you're doing great, but I'm so sorry, we don't allow tattoos," and she licks her thumb and wipes it away. And she says, "I got bored in second period,"
Uh-huh. Yeah.
implying that she had drawn it on herself.
That's funny.
Yeah.
As they're walking through school, Faith
Yeah.
continues to be the threat. Now, I did mention how everything about her threatens Buffy, like the fact that she could take over slaying duties even as a threat. And I said I understood that. My point being that, like, even in like I think in roles of leadership, when people perform well around you, you
Yeah.
have you have to gird yourself up. I mean,
Mhm.
jealous leaders are bad leaders, and you have to gird yourself up and realize that like there's a
Yeah.
sense that if someone on your team or below you or someone comes alongside and is just great, um
Mhm.
is that a threat to your existence? Do you need other people to be lesser than you to be good? And these are all things I think that we have to contend with, dealing with our own egos. I mean, I think almost all.
That's a really interesting observation. Talk more about that.
Well, I mean, I don't even think it has to do with leadership. I just think sometimes once we carve out our groove or
Mhm.
our niche or whatever, we feel like we're in
Sure.
a space. Anyone that can come alongside it can somewhat seem like they can be a threat, and so whether it is a threat for influence or a threat for the resources or whatever, and so we have to be careful not to just dismiss, denounce, and turn away. I think the most healthy parts of us realize the beauty and the goodness added by other people, and that we find ways to bring our talents together.
Sure.
But I see it all the time. I see it like when um, I've even seen it just when like a new staff member comes on a team and they're not
Mhm.
necessarily taking anyone else's responsibility, but just their new what they can bring to the table can somewhat like be some sense of like it can be a threat to another person because they feel like this is me, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is my value right here. I contribute.
Right. Sure.
Um, but what if that changes? And we all know
Right.
change is really, really hard. We also know
Sure.
it is the most constant thing. Right.
Right.
So it's this weird. I mean, I think that to truly live is to navigate like continual death and rebirth, continual renewal, continual,
Mhm.
and you can talk about that religious and spiritual terms or psychological terms, but it's a
Right.
constant like readjustment of keeping your ego kind of in a healthy place and
Sure.
like and then back and forth. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Interesting.
That's what I'm seeing. But the next threat. that Faith poses is that Scott Hope walks up and then
Yes.
like, oh, look at this cute little guy or whatever, and Buffy's like, well, hey, I mean, she keeps saying, well, hey, that's kind of her thing. Hey, I've been around, and that's the other thing is when you've been involved in like a role for a period of time, people begin to take you somewhat for granted. Like, you're
Yes.
a known entity. The new thing is always novel and shiny. Uh,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know. That's happening.
So I think that at this point we get the scene with Joyce and Buffy and Faith, and they're having dinner. And
Well, you're skipping over where there's just a brief exchange between
oh,
and the
yeah,
and the
yeah, 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 yeah,
big
yeah.
bad,
Talk about that for a second. Talk about that for a
well,
second.
they're in the lair, wherever they found a lair,
Hmm.
and this big bad cloven hoof master guy, this
Yeah.
guy, what's his name? I haven't even said his name. I just know Trick. Trick's the one to remember.
Let me look it up while you're talking.
It's Kakistos. It's
Eastos.
Kakistos. Um, he's finding out. Trick is the information guy. Trick's like, hey man, there's two Slayers in town.
Mm-hmm.
And Trick's trying to make a plan. Kakistos just wants vengeance. You clearly understand that
Yep.
Faith has slashed his eye, and now he
Yep.
wants to get back at Faith. So there's been a battle. He's coming for Faith, not Buffy. And
Right.
anyway, there's this cute scene where you see Trick put on a part of the scene where he puts on a glove and says dinner's here, and it's a pizza delivery guy, and he just reaches in the sunlight, pulls him in. So
Right.
yeah, but now,
Right.
okay, so now we cut to Joyce, Buffy, and Faith having dinner, and now you're realizing a little bit more that Faith has been running away from Kakistos, and
Yes.
he's on her tail. And now we get to have this conversation at the table we're taking domesticity and
Mm-hmm.
putting basically an orphan in the mix.
Yes.
That,
Yes.
and yeah. And so Buffy is sitting there feeling a little threatened. I noticed that Joyce offers her a soft drink to go get a drink, and I noticed the whole time that Buffy is just spooning out French fries on her plate. Never touches them, but spooning them out.
Right.
Meanwhile, Faith is eating constantly, like she's hungry, but she's
Right.
only ever really eating vegetables. I just noticed that.
Oh,
Un-
that's funny. I didn't
un-
notice that.
Until that one point when I think it's because actors don't like eating on. It's gross to eat on camera, and then if you
Sure.
take after take after take,
Sure.
so sometimes the food's cold and gross. Sometimes bad for you,
Sure.
like if you eat too many French fries, right? Faith only eats French fries when Buffy's out of the room and she can look back and it's a symbol, right? That Faith has reached
Yeah.
the table and taken her French fries. Look,
That's
now
right.
she's eating French fries. She's taking my family. She's taking my job. She's taking my not yet
Mhm.
boyfriend, which she
Right.
tells
Right.
Joyce. And Joyce only sees upside at this point.
Yeah, she only sees upside until um she starts questioning Buffy about why there's a second Slayer. She thought there was only one. And then Buffy says, "Well, another Slayer's called whenever one dies." And then Joyce says, "You died?
Yeah.
You never told me you died."
Well, it was only for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then that's when Joyce slides into "I hate your life," and then there's the parallel with LGBTQ, right? She's like, "I'm trying to be, march in Slayer pride," she says,
Yes.
but
Yes.
can't you just? I just don't like your life, and it is interesting how they make that simple parallel. Like she's
Yeah.
said before, "Can't you try to be something different?" I mean,
Yeah.
countless parents have said that to their kids. Have you tried not being gay? So
Yeah, I got to point this out real fast.
yeah, yeah,
Um Whedon has always said that one of the main influences in the creation of Buffy was an X-Man character called Kitty Pryde.
yeah. You
And
said, yeah.
to be honest with you, I never saw the connection until this scene that you're talking about with the gay pride thing, because the X-Men are a metaphor for the other in society.
Right.
And it's a well-known metaphor that one of the groups that is referenced there is the LGBTQ community. And this is the first time I saw that parallel with the Kitty Pride versus Buffy thing or whatever really clearly in a moment, because I think I've seen a scene like this in an X-Man comic.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I think even when they started making the X-Men movies again in the early aughts, I think it was
Yeah.
clearly a lot more about gay pride or about
Hmm.
the gay queer community. I think
Sure.
the more they go, I think they get more nuanced and they start introducing, you see more themes of other kinds of otherizing,
Yes, yes.
you know, it's more xenophobic and that kind of thing, which is interesting. Um, well, Buffy and Faith have finished dinner, changed clothes. Buffy changes clothes, and they
Hmm.
go out on patrol. And this is where they're talking about their philosophies. Faith, not surprising, is a lot less thorough than Buffy. She is a more of a go with the flow and feeling sort.
Yes.
We know this because they walk down a way they've already been. And she goes, "We've already been here." And she says, Buffy says to Faith, "That's the funny thing about vampires. They may show up after you've already checked a place, right?"
Right.
And now they're doing battle with a couple vamps together. And Buffy at some point turns to Faith saying, "Give me a hand." I don't know why she needs a hand. Buffy's quite capable. I have
Sure.
to point that criticism out. But all it's doing is to serve to show us that Buffy's aware and Faith is not, because Faith has gone into a blind, aggressive rage on a vampire.
Yes.
Overkill. Because she's not killing him. She's just bludgeoning him and having
Yeah.
fun or doing it.
Right.
And then because Buffy says, "Give me a hand," it makes her unfocused and gets her in a little trouble, quote unquote, because she keeps
Yes.
slaying vampires along the way,
Yes.
and she's able to keep scolding her at the same time, and then she goes and puts the final punctuation mark into the heart of a
Yeah. Yeah.
vampire.
Yeah. The job
Now
is
they're
to slay vampires, not beat to a bloody pulp, she says.
yeah. And basically like, "Hey, I think you're in the if you don't enjoy this, if you're not beating the tar out of them, I think you're in the wrong kind of work,
Yeah.
uh, and is there strength in what Faith offers? I've asked this question.
Okay.
Is there strength in what she offers here, or is Faith just representative of a less mature version of where Buffy is? What do you think?
Mm. Well, I think that let's see, what do I think here? I think that Faith at this point in the story um is representative of where Buffy may have gone if she didn't have the centering of the friends and the Slayer. Pardon me, the Watcher.
Right.
I think that Faith is clearly because here's the thing. In earlier seasons, we've seen Buffy talk a lot about how she is intuitive and feels her
Yep.
way through things, and she uses anger as a weapon.
That's
That's one of the
that's how
main
she
things.
teaches Kendra. Like
That's
there's
exactly right.
there was strength in Kendra that Buffy didn't have, but Buffy had a strength that Kendra didn't have. She was
That's
more
exactly right.
heart driven. Yeah.
And now we're seeing like the extreme of where Buffy's ideology could have gone if she didn't have the centering of all the people, I
I
think.
think that's I think that's the right read. My question implied whether or not Faith has something that Buffy didn't and could complete
Okay.
her. But I don't
So
think
I
so. I,
think
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. I think that she shows what Buffy would be like without being tethered.
yeah. So I think that ultimately when we get to future seasons, I do think that Faith has some stuff that she can impart to Buffy that she has learned that Buffy could learn from, but I don't think that that's true at this point in the story.
Yeah, yeah. She has to develop too.
Yeah.
Well, she's reporting to Giles in the school hallway, and this is where Giles is like, "Hey, man, maybe Faith can take some off the table, you know." I mean, and that's coming to Buffy in an unwelcome way. I think it's because Buffy starts to get more worried about her than everything else.
Mhm.
There's a funny bit about whether or not leprechauns exist. I don't know if you remember that bit. It's like,
I
you know,
don't remember that bit. Tell me
yeah.
about it.
No, just like, in like, wait, leprechauns are real, like this. I don't think so. It's like this whole like,
Oh, yeah.
or,
Okay. I got you. Yes.
um, but Giles is back on the scene looking up this history of Kakistos, trying to figure out who this is.
Mhm.
And Buffy heads off, storming off, only to have, the Slayer drama interrupted by Scott Hope, who wants to
Got
ask her
hope.
out on a date to the Buster Keaton thing. And he's to me very mealy mouthed. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe he's the greatest guy in the world, but um it's not this episode that drives me crazy. It's what I see later, just for the record. Um, but yeah, so he's asking her out to see Buster Keaton down on Capitol Street. Is it Capitol State Street? I
Okay,
don't.
State Street. Sure.
That just made me think Chicago. Sorry.
Sure.
Uh, But Buffy loves Buster Keaton, which I thought, maybe you're right about the whole Johnny Depp connection.
I don't know, but I would say that that's the only reason that people in this era would know of Buster Keaton.
I mean, but if you're like on Dawson's Creek, like every like teen was like a film expert. Every teen could talk about Kurosawa.
Oh, that's
I mean,
actually really interesting. I never watched Dawson Creek, so I didn't
it's
know
so
this.
no, but it annoyed me. It's like not realistic at all, but it was supposed to be.
Sure.
He pulls out something to give her.
Yeah.
And she sees the Clawdol ring, the ring that Angel
Yeah.
gave her knocked out of her hands, and it sends her into to a bit of an emotional tizzy, um, and she's saved a little bit by Giles. Um, Giles
Yes.
is coming to find her. Scott runs away. He's mortified.
Yes.
The question Buffy's able to say is, "Hey, well, did you reach the people at the Watchers retreat? Because that was the whole thing about reaching to the people in the Cotswolds. They were on
Right.
retreat, and Faith's Watcher must be, and that's the big reveal is that actually, in fact, Faith's Watcher is dead, been killed
Hmm.
by Kakistos.
Yes.
Which again, why wouldn't they send out an alert to all the Watchers to know that a Watcher
Yeah.
amongst them had fallen? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, okay. I had to interrupt for 1 second because there's one bit with Faith and Giles that's one of my favorite little diatribes that we skipped over totally. I skipped over it totally. Is at some point in the conversation when Faith realizes that Giles is Buffy's watcher, she says something like, "If I'd known they came this young and good looking, I would have traded in my watcher a long time ago." And and Giles says something like, "Yes, well, despite my youth and beauty, we need to blah 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 blah." But anyway, it's just this very funny thing where Buffy and Willow are a little bit skeeved out by the idea that Faith would think that Giles was attractive in any way, and that always cracks me up
Yeah.
because he's such a handsome guy, you know.
I
And for
think
the
so.
record, now nearly a decade younger than where I am now, if I'm looking at the show.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we cut then to the Skeezy Motel where Faith has to stay, and she's having a
Yep.
talk with the owner, and it's a very cheap rent, but she's
Yes.
promising to get it. Buffy shows. And he's like, whatever. He gives her ultimatum, and then she leaves. And Buffy and is confronting Faith about her watcher and about how she's on the
Yep.
run from Kakistos. And
Yep.
Faith's like, listen, I can handle this on my own. I stay one step ahead. That's what I do. There's a knock on the door. I think this is cool because in the peephole, you see the face of the owner, but because of his expression that he's dead and he's being held
Yeah.
up to. She
Sure.
opens the door, and there is Kakistos and Trick, and this is where their big showdown happens.
Yep.
Uh, Sometimes I think
They
watching them run, and sometimes I think they shouldn't show the ancient vampires running. It just makes it somehow less menacing.
sure.
Um,
Sure.
it's like the slasher movie trope about how they're always just like Michael Myers is always walking. And
Right.
I don't know if you've ever seen that really cool slasher film called Leslie Vernon, the Legend of Leslie Vernon or something, Behind the Mask. It
Hmm.
is a
No.
mockumentary style slasher film. It was a very small film, but it was really well done about this like urban legend named I think Leslie Vernon, if I'm not mistaken. The documentary filmmaker is like, hey, we caught up with a serial killer and we're gonna see how they do it. And then he is like talking about how he stalks his prey and he's talking about training that so you keep up physically. He's like, oh yeah, how do you think I make it look like I'm walking the whole time? And like it's a comedy until as they're just so you know, as they're documenting the kill, where he's going to go in and pick off all these babysitters or sorority girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a ruse. The red herring the whole time is that he is actually the trap is the documentary film team, and it becomes a slasher on them.
All right.
Inventive
Nice.
movie. You should like it. But anyway,
I'll
so
check it out. That sounds
yeah.
awesome.
So
That
now
sounds
that I see
awesome.
Kakistos and Trick running, I'm like, it doesn't seem as, scary.
Not as intimidating. No, no, no. I
No.
totally agree. That is one thing about this show that I'll say is both really impressive and also in retrospect not it dates it is just the cinematography, special effects stuff. At the time, I think that they were doing an amazing job for the budget. Like there were definitely shows out there that were a little bit more well produced.
Yeah.
Um, but to be honest, for the the budget and the setup and stuff, not many. Because one of the things that Buffy did really well at the time was do a lot of visual storytelling. Most other TV was just headshots, people talking about stuff, like a
Uh,
Law and Order or whatever. But but they were trying to do a lot with the budget, and I think but when you see TV today, I mean, from a production standpoint, have you watched like Foundation or any of those Apple TV shows? You watch Severance.
I do watch Severance. Yeah.
Um,
It's very
those
expensive.
things are amazingly produced. Like I can't even
Yeah.
believe like the production value of those things.
Yeah. No, they say
So
that one's, I can't remember the number, but it's so expensive each episode.
yeah. Well, so anyway, getting back to this, I do think that at the time that I saw this originally, I think I was much more enthusiastic about the way that the monsters looked and all the action sequences worked. Whereas today, when I look at it compared to what's happening now, it does
Yeah.
look pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you have Trick and Kakistos chasing Buffy and Faith down,
Yeah.
and they're in some warehouse and they're having a great little fight. And at some point, Buffy starts to, Kakistos is getting the better of Faith, and Buffy steps into.
Yes.
Buffy stakes Kakistos, but apparently his ancient skin is so thick he can't. He's like, I think you need a bigger stake, right?
Yeah.
And this sets up Faith to take a huge like 2x4 that had been sharpened at one point and just stick it through him like
Yes.
a knife through hot butter, and then he goes. But before that, the endearing nature of Trick to me is that he's talking to some other underlings. He's like, "Look, man, this is not the future. This is some old ancient stuff. Let's live to fight another day." And he takes off. He sees
Yes.
he is a entrepreneurial, forward thinking vampire, and yeah,
Okay, so this thank you for bringing that point up. This is what I wanted to talk about when you asked the question at the very beginning of the episode about Faith, Hope, and Trick. Does Trick outlive
yes,
love? Um, when I first saw this, I thought they were setting Trick up to be big bad for the season,
right, sure,
and I thought that he was going to be the enduring villain of the season as a result of the way that they were setting it up. And I think that that's the way they were trying to play it for the misdirection. I think that this season in general has a lot of misdirection, just like this episode where we think that Trick is coming after and Kakistos are coming after Buffy, but then we find out it's this new Slayer that we haven't met yet, so on and so forth.
yeah. The problem, uh,
Yeah.
the problem, according to critics, and is that Trick is the longest running black character or character of color on the series with
Okay.
with 5 episodes.
Oh, that is a problem.
And that, equating the black population of DC and the crime with vampires in Sunnydale, like there is
Mm.
some like really tone deaf stuff happening, is what people suggest.
Yeah. I wonder if that was the reason that they included Gunn in the Angel series.
I don't know. But I think that when I watch this, I'm thinking about the landscape of television. You're hard pressed to think that actual individuals are thinking, well, we can only have so many black people on screen. I think people were just seeing things through their lens. People who were making things were seeing things so pervasively through their lens
Sure.
that and I mean, maybe there was some consciousness of it, but there was a lot of non-conscious thinking about it.
Yes.
The thing to me is they kept Spike around because he's such a cool character.
Sure.
I could see how they could have done the same thing with Trick. Uh,
Sure.
although he is up against the mayor, which is an incredibly cool character
Right.
in terms of the villains go. Um, yeah. Anyway, so they get a handle on it. They defeat the bad guys at the end of the day, and now we're kind of downloading with Giles in the library, and that is where I think the most impressive part of the episode happens, because there's still more questions he has for Buffy about that night with the Cathla. And just for the spell, I need a few more bits. And he gets the information that Buffy killed Angel. Like,
Yeah.
Buffy leaves, exits the screen, and Willow really wants to help. And Giles is like, there is no spell. And then you realize what he's been doing the whole time is just trying to figure out what emotionally she's really gone through.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it's incredibly moving and showing his care for her. Um, Knowing also that she would carry this around by herself.
Yes.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, you are 100% right that it's so this is one of those bits where um okay. We've talked a number of times on the show about how Whedon is constantly writing to theme, and he's directing all of his screenwriters to write to theme. Um, I think that I'm not sure if this is an example of that or not, but what I think is really interesting is that at the same time they're trying to write to theme, they're also trying to write to continuity, and that was also unusual for a TV show of this time period.
Mm.
Um, and in this particular beat, which is incredibly moving, because we're finally seeing, Buffy uh voice the thing that she had to do. Like we've seen it over and over again, right? We saw it in this in when it actually happened last season. And now we've seen it in at least a couple, maybe three prophetic dreams. Um and we know that she's really scarred in a deep way by this event. And this is the first time we've actually heard her talk about it.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of revelation in this particular moment. Not only is Buffy confronting her inner demons, um, but Giles is becoming aware of Buffy's inner demons. He knew there was something there, but he didn't know what it was until this moment. But I think in addition to that, there's also revelation for Will that Willow is her spell worked. She didn't know that her spell worked until this very moment, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's also a little bit of Willow realizing that she herself was able to do something that she didn't know she could do, you know. So all that put together, I think makes for a really, really powerful moment. Um, but I do have it in the back of my head. I'm wondering if part of the reason that they saved this scene for this moment is also because of something you said at the very beginning of the episode: faith, hope, and love.
Yeah.
We're now talking about the love part of it, in but we didn't know we were going to.
Yeah. No. No. We break that emotional tension about I guess from Giles and Willow's now
Mhm.
insights with Scott Hope and Buffy in the hallway, and there's a hey, let's go out situation, and there's an ascent to going out. So Buffy then goes back to the place where Angel was killed and puts the Clawdol ring down on the ground, and the tag is basically it's like I don't know, I don't even know how I've actually wondered how they filmed this, but it's a big bright light and there's a naked man falling from the sky, and it's David Boreanaz's as Angels just they're naked, sweaty on the ground. He's
Mhm.
back, right? So these prophetic
Yes.
dreams have been, but he's laying there, and he's been through something. That's what you physically can see, that he's been through something, and then so
Yes.
the moment that Buffy seems like she could be moving on, she's pulled right back in. Or she's going to, she's gonna be pulled right back in.
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
Well, I think the theme that we're talking about, the themes that Buffy's dealing with, are really well done and like hit on many times throughout this episode. And I think it's a compelling theme. Whether it's about the freedom versus constraint of oneself,
Hmm.
and I think that theme that happens throughout Buffy, like wondering about, is she who is she in the midst of all this? I think that's really well done. Someone taking over her life, what's hers. That stuff's all really pressing and I think meaningful from a
Hmm.
psychological perspective and something we all deal with. Um, I really like this episode. What do you really like it? Is it one of your?
Oh yeah, it's I think that okay, I love the fact that it sets up all of these things. Obviously I like the payoff of all of it later on
Hmm.
when we get to the moment where Faith breaks ranks. I won't spoil in case anyone's actually watching along with us. But in around the middle of this season, Faith is going to break ranks, and when that happens, I think a lot of the ideas that were set up here get paid off
Yeah.
in really, really major ways. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, I think that Faith is one of the most interesting Buffy characters. I really wished that they would have made a Faith-centric series after the conclusion of Buffy.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
they
love
have
Dollhouse, and I presented a paper at a theology philosophy conference at Oxford University on the theme of Dollhouse. That's how, I mean, I think there's a
wow,
lot there to play with,
yeah,
and that tells me Eliza Dushku could carry a show. And I know you've told
hmm,
me to criticize Dollhouse, but I don't think it's for lack of her ability.
no, no,
Um,
no, no, not at all, not at all. In fact, her being able to do so many different things in Dollhouse, I think represented like an amazing portfolio for her, you know?
yeah, no, that would have been a good. I think that would be a good spin off. I'd probably watch it over Angel. In fact, I think there's a lot of depth that she can. I think there's just a lot of intricate things that a character like Faith can get into.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
but the couple pop culture references that I noticed that I just think are
Tell
kind
me.
of fun to point out. Again, Martha Stewart,
Yep.
Buster Keaton, but then
Yeah.
she compares Faith to sort of the single white female, and if you remember that movie in the '90s, but that was a pretty scary movie where um, the single white female was an ad back in the day when you would look at ads for need a or I'm looking for a date. I'm a single white female SWF, or I'm looking for a roommate, and you would list stuff
Hmm.
about yourself with those acronyms.
Sure.
And in that movie, Bridget Fonda's character has Jennifer Jason Leigh's character comes in and starts like taking over her life, like her
Yes. Yes.
hairstyle and all this stuff, and it becomes creepier and creepier and creepier. So, eh, referencing single white female here is like other shows referencing Fatal Attraction. Like
Yeah.
you
Right.
say the name of it, and it elicits this sort of like creepy psychological
Totally
terror.
agreed.
That
Totally agreed.
yeah. So I thought that those were cool. And we learned some stuff in this episode about
Hmm.
Joyce gets to learn some stuff about Buffy, which I think
Hmm.
textures it a little bit more.
Sure.
Uh, so yeah, the point that's made here on the reception part of Wikipedia it
Hmm.
makes you and I've made. There's a Watchers retreat every year in the Cotswolds, and Giles is not invited, although he should be the most important Watcher in the world. And like absolutely. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they've really worked out yet what these Watchers Council really is like, or what it's for. It's sort of a foil, I think, just to for the establishment.
Yeah. 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 I think you're right. I think you're right. Well, how did you note how this one was ranked?
All right, so what it says here is that
Hmm.
Vox ranked it number 50 out of all 144 episodes. They write though that now Faith is here and things can get really get started. Is what they
Sure.
say.
Sure. Sure.
Noel Murray of the AV Club enjoyed the characterizations, quote unquote. If the first two seasons of episodes of season three showed anything, it's that the core ensemble has become nicely rounded out since the end of season two. With Oz in the picture, Joyce in the know, and Cordelia much less dim, there's more functional members of the slang circle, which leads to more complicated and entertaining rhythms and so on and so forth. Um, yeah, so yeah, I guess they don't I read that before I started speaking before reading it, but it's saying that this is where things start to take a turn and get moving.
Yeah.
Uh yeah. Anyway, well
Cool.
balanced, lots of fun. That's the kind of thing that I'm reading about from these
Yeah, man.
talking. So, yep.
Nice.
All right. Well, I look forward to what's this next Beauty and the Beast? Is that the next one? Is that what it's called?
I'm looking it up right now. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And that's
Beauty and the Beasts plural.
yeah. Yeah, I'm scanning through the next handful of episodes, and I think we've got a lot of really good ones coming up.
Season 3 is a banger. So,
Yeah.
all right, man. Listen, everyone, slay on, be well. We'll see you next time.